Are you trying to get into the metal genre and are struggling to know where to start? There's so many albums, there's so many genres. Where do I begin? Well, don't worry, I'm here because today I'm gonna talk you through 5 albums that I think will help you get into the metal genre. Let's check them out. So a couple of weeks back, I did a TikTok about 5 beginner albums, and it was kind of an off-the-cuff idea, and honestly, I didn't think too much of it, but that TikTok kind of blew up a little. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go a bit more in depth with a full-blown YouTube video about it. And between when I made that TikTok and now, the picks I've chosen are pretty much the same, but I have made small changes to the list that I believe will just help people who are not into metal get into metal even easier than before. And to kick it off, I'm still going with Black Sabbath's Paranoid, the 1970 album. It's the OG. It is technically the first metal album, and as such, I think it's worth listening to, if anything, for the heritage, the culture that came from it. It has so many great songs, from War Pigs, Paranoid, Iron Man, Fairies Wear Boots. You've probably heard them at some point in your life, and honestly, I think it's worth listening to just for the fact that an album that is over half a century old is still being listened to. It's still being bought. And just on that alone, I think it's just worth listening to. And a small exercise for you when actually listening to it is, when you go through the album, you'll find that you'll pick up certain genres that haven't existed yet, and you can kind of be like, oh, so that's where this genre came from. Like one example is sludge metal. Paranoid by Black Sabbath, that's the first pick. It was an obvious pick. So on that TikTok, my next pick was Metallica with Master of Puppets. But after thinking about it for a while, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to give it to the Black Album. And the only reason for that, I find the Black Album to be more accessible to a wider audience. In my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion in the metal scene, Master of Puppets is definitely Metallica's best album. However, it's not the best album to get into Metallica itself. For one, the average track length is about 6 to 7 minutes, while for the Black Album, it's a lot more condensed, a lot more easy to digest overall. In the Black Album, the music is also a lot more groovier, and the writing is a lot more mainstream versus Master of Puppets, which went for this ridiculous, like heavy, almost even proggy as well in certain sections. And I'm also going to bring up the album cover itself. The Master of Puppets cover is very cool. It's got a very striking image of the graves, the puppeteer above it, really symbolic, and the Black Album is, as you would expect, just a Black Album. However, it means that it is very inoffensive to anyone who would want to buy it, because I don't know about you, a lot of metal albums can have very striking and grotesque imagery on their covers, and for a lot of people that's just not going to look good in their collection or in their library. So with the Black Album, it's kind of this very inoffensive black cover, and if you saw it in a collection, you wouldn't really think too much of it. But barring the actual cover itself, the music is a lot more accessible. Of course, it has Enter Sandman, commercially Metallica's best song of all time. It's also got Sad But True, which is one of my personal favorites from the album, and Unforgiven too. So just those 3 tracks alone, you'll probably be able to get in most of the average crowd who want to get into metal. With all that being said, Metallica's The Black Album, that is my second pick to get you into the metal genre. Now, with this next pick, it kind of was a bit of a controversy because I had comments in the TikTok saying that, one, this is not a metal album, and I'm going to defend it and still say, no, this can be considered as a metal album. But with the slight tweak is that I'm actually going to do a double bill on this one, and that is Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory and Meteora. These albums are legendary for the alternative rock/metal scene. It has the legendary Chester as well, God bless his soul, one of the best frontman of all time. And for a band itself, they've successfully been able to pretty much go to any genre in those 2 albums and make it work. They are heavy, but they incorporate electronic elements, they've got hip-hop, they've got literally everything in those 2 albums. So that's why I would recommend them if you're a person who wanted to get into the metal scene but didn't know where to go, because honestly, if there was maybe you listen to one track off either of these albums and you didn't like it, well, that doesn't merely say that the other tracks you might not like. There's so much variety in these 2 albums. I'm sure there's going to be 1 or 2 or maybe 3 songs that you're definitely going to gel with and vibe with. To give a bit of a contrast, if you were to show someone, let's say, a black metal album, I don't know, like a Dark Throne album or something, if they didn't like one song, well, there's a good chance they're not going to like the rest of the album. So at least with Linkin Park, you have that safety net. And as I said, even though this is technically not metal, I would still recommend it for anyone trying to get into heavy music. It's got distortions, it's got a metal sounding drum kit, and it's big, it's powerful, it's got a lot of impact in general. And for me personally, it was the album that got me into metal, so I don't know why it wouldn't be the same for other people. So yeah, Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, and Meteora. Next is a band that me personally, I don't think that much of, but I do know that they have a huge impact on the metal genre in general, and also for a lot of people who are wanting to get into the metal genre, and that is Avenged Sevenfold, and the pick from them that I know the best is Nightmare. Now, I never really listened to a lot of Avenged Sevenfold growing up. It was never really my band, but I can honestly say Nightmare would be probably the best pick if you're trying to get somebody into the genre. It's got a lot of rock and metal elements. It's definitely more on the hard rock to metal side. It's heavy. The vocals are like loud and bombastic. Reminds me a bit of like Bruce Dickinson and Judas Priest, but they still are clean. Like with all the picks I've chosen on this list, I've chosen not to do anything that has like growls, gutturals, screams. The closest thing on this list is probably Linkin Park when it comes to like the screams and all that stuff. And similarly with Avenged Sevenfold, yes, the frontman M Shadows, I think his name is. Yes, he's got a gruffness, like an intense tone, but he doesn't go for the proper screams and the growls that you would expect. So it's a lot more accessible that way. The music itself is not too hard to get behind as well. It's energetic. It's predominantly more on the happier side when it comes to tonality and timbre, and it's overall got this really nice warm tone to it, even when they're going for those darker elements. And if you ever wanted to look into metalcore itself, I think this would be a perfect way in, because they're one of the old school metalcore bands. Avenged Sevenfold with Nightmare. And finally, this is kind of a bonus pick, and it's kind of a meme as well, but I went with Deep Purple's Machine Head from 1972, and the only reason I picked this one is because this is the album where we have the track Smoke on the Water. Yes, a bit of a meme, a bit of a song that's been definitely overplayed to death by every goddamn guitarist, including me. But if you ever wanted to know where that song came from, yep, Machine Head, that's the album. I also have to shout out the track Highway Star as well. It's another fantastic song. So if you wanted to check out, again, another classic album, and you really like Black Sabbath as well, yeah, Deep Purple's Machine Head. But anyway, those are a few albums that I think anybody could listen to and get some appreciation for the metal scene, and if not, join the metal scene and explore more into all the genres that encapsulated as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course write down below what album got you into the metal scene. Me, it was Linkin Park, it was Metallica, so I want to hear what got you into the metal genre. But anyway, stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!